Welcome. You're listening to the I'm Wired to Inspire podcast, creatively engineered by Robin Nicole, the inspiration specialist. I'm Wired to Inspire is a powerfully packed 5-minute podcast filled with inspiration and encouragement to get you through your day. It's designed to inspire you to live your authentic purpose. Now stay tuned for your host, Robin Nicole, the inspiration specialist, on today's episode of I'm Wired to Inspire.
Hello, and thank you so much for joining me today on my podcast. It is wonderful to have you guys with me here today. If you are just joining us, today is day 2 of the Queen Me series, and it is 5 simple yet essential tips for the single queen. Now, this is for Christian single women that have a desire to be whole, healthy, balanced women of God as they prepare to be married or as they prepare to just be cultivated women of God. Now, again, this is for women who may or may not be, who may or may not desire to marry. It is just about really being a woman who focuses on what she needs to do so that she can just be a better human in general, so she can live authentically according to God's will for her life. Now, I also welcome this series to men. Any man who wants to be married, any man who just wants to know about what women deal with, and you want to know how to pray for that woman, please, I encourage you to listen, because it's definitely helpful on both ends. It's more geared toward the steps that a woman should take. But as a man, if you're just trying to, finesse a couple of dates and trying to finesse a relationship, I just think it's just good wisdom to have. I know, some of you may be looking for a wife right now, but you want to know how to prepare yourself and put yourself in a position to really understand where the woman is coming from. And, you'll hear people say a lot that men need respect and women need love. So I think a part of a man loving a woman is just learning those little nuances about her and kind of going out of his way, even taking a little time to listen to this series just to get a little bit of information on how he can treat that woman better. And again, like I said, if he don't finesse a couple dates out of the deal, he might finesse a friendship, or he might just finesse some information that he didn't know that can help him toward his goal if he wants to be a husband one day. So again, each of my series comes with a free ebook to follow along with each day. But this one is special because the Queen Me ebook also has call to action sheets and level up questions for each day. So if you haven't, make sure you hit the link below this podcast and download your Queen Me ebook with the call to action sheets and the level up questions. Now, I'm also very, very happy about a special addition to this particular series. Have a special treat for you. So at the end of each show, it ends with something titled The Married Moment. And it's basically a married woman. She gives advice that she wished she would have gotten before she was married and started a family. So please make sure that you listen to the show in its entirety so you can get this wisdom at the end. Yesterday's tea was really good. Make sure you go back and if you're just new to it today, catch up on yesterday, and then you'll be caught up for the 2 days, and then you can jump right back in on tomorrow. Make sure you use the hashtags if you post, repost, or share. Queen Me Now, Grow, Glean, Glow, and live your authentic purpose. So I definitely appreciate you guys for coming. If I didn't say it before today, I want to make sure I say it now. I do not take it lightly. I appreciate and I truly value your time. So please make sure you give me feedback. Let me know what you think. If you have any more questions, I would really appreciate you sending them to me. Again, podcast at I'mWiredToInspire.com. And I will definitely hit you back. So in this series, I'm addressing 5 different topics that encourage a single Christian woman to operate in excellence. Now, yesterday, the title was called Be a Light. And we basically talked about how God gives you a God-given glow. It's not even something that you can ask him for. He just gives it to you. But we realize that we get to certain seasons in our lives, and some of us, we just forget how to shine. Others of us have no idea that we have this light inside of us, and we don't know how to activate it. And some of us, we just don't know what to do with it. Either things have happened and we begin to dull our shine, we begin to feel like, you know what, I don't have the juice anymore, or I don't even know how to access it. So that is what I focused on yesterday. And that leads us into day 2. So each day we begin with the scripture. So today is very special because it actually has the title in the topic for today. And today's topic is Be a Queen. Are you too mean to glean? Scripture says, let's go to Ruth. We're going to go to Ruth chapter 2, verses 2 through 3. She departed and went and gleaned in the field after the reapers, and she happened to come to the portion of the field belonging to Boaz. Now, let me warn you. When I speak on Boaz, it's not popular because I have a different perspective on Boaz. So just hear me out as I break down to you what God had given me concerning this matter, because I am addressing your queendom. I'm addressing you being a queen and what the characteristics of a queen are, as opposed to just waiting for a Boaz. Because there's more to you than that. I'm not diminishing that. I think it's incredible. I love this story. It's one of my favorite stories in the Bible. But I'm coming another way. And you already know, if you come to my podcast, and maybe some of you don't, this may be your first day. But I like to give it to you the way I get it. And it's raw and it's uncut. And it is genuinely from an honest place. So if you following along in the ebook, go to day 2. And that is called, again, Be a Queen. So here goes. Quite a few Christian women are riding on the quote-unquote, I'm waiting for my Boaz, I'm royalty, God will send me a king wave. But they are completely ill-equipped to receive such a blessing. If you start talking about Boaz, then you must talk about Ruth and gleaning. Gleaning in this particular story meant that she was pulling grain from Boaz's field. She was pleasant, a hard worker, and she didn't complain. In a word, she was grateful. She didn't have a mean spirit or a sense of entitlement. She was focused on taking care of her mother-in-law. Ladies, it's wonderful to desire your king, but do you act like royalty? It's nice to want your gentleman, but are you a kind woman, also known as a gentlewoman? It's great to want your Boaz, but are you gleaning? So here's the thing. I mentioned earlier that she was a hard worker and she didn't complain. Now, let's not get it twisted. If you don't know anything about me, I have a strong, confident personality that has been cultivated from a time of not being that type of woman. So it took time for me to cultivate that. It took time for me to walk and act with the attributes of a queen. I have always been around confident parents and siblings and friends, but I had my own journey. So I don't want you to think that I'm insinuating in any way that you have to be a pushover, you have to be lame, you have to just take whatever you can get. No. What I'm saying is your characteristics of a queen are about how you cultivate who God has called you to be as an individual, outside of wanting a husband, outside of pleasing other people, outside of your work, your career, or even your purpose. This is about you just being the woman of God that he has called you to be, with your flaws and all. So this day is more about really reflecting upon exactly what it is that God is trying to pull out of you. Okay? So listen, a great lesson in life is to remember you don't get what you want in life. You get what you prepare for. Okay? I want you to think about that. Are you preparing for what you're asking for? So many of us women have been frustrated. I used to be. I'm no longer that way, but I can tell you that is something that trips up many women because they really don't understand the frustration is a trap. It's a setup from Satan to keep you in a cyclical process of not healing, a process of feeling entitled, a process of not doing the core work that you need to do. Focus, looking at God, looking at your future, paying attention. You're not stuck in a tunnel. You can see out your peripherals, but you're focused. You know what's popping on the side of you. You know what's popping on the front of you, but you got that. Okay? That is really, really important. So again, ask yourself, if you don't get what you want in life, you get what you prepare for. Are you preparing for what you're asking for? So many women are frustrated about being single, but have not committed a single portion of their life to the Most High God. In fact, y'all, many erroneously hope for God to bless this area of their lives, and they do nothing as an act of faith to see it come to fruition. Then some have the audacity to be angry, like Jesus didn't do them a solid when they only call him when they need a solid, a favor, or a miracle. Is that you? Think about it. Listen, when I do these series and God puts this on my heart, is because these are things that I've been walking out or have walked out. So I can speak to you from a place of having experienced it, either going through it, or I have come to such a place where I could literally show you, hey, this is wisdom. Practice wisdom when you're doing this. And vice versa. Practice wisdom or watch this. This is not wise. Whichever way God presents it at the time. But trust me, when I tell you, these are questions at times in my life I've had to ask myself. Are you just using God for a solid? Lord, do me a solid. I want a husband. I'm bored. Lord, I'm successful. I got money. I love my life. I travel. Things are awesome, but I want a man. Okay. Nothing wrong with that. In fact, you have not what you ask. You have not because you ask not. So it's perfectly awesome that you're asking for that. But if you are seeking God for something like that, treating him like he's Santa Claus, trying to pimp him out, and you think because you got everything is so great in your life, you're a career woman and you're awesome and you just have this wonderful life, but you're just gonna, you know what, God, I'll just hit you up for this husband because you've been blessed with all of these things, but you're really not all that focused on Christ. So you just figure I'll just ask God for a man because he's not coming when I do it. I want you to evaluate that. I'm not telling you that from judgment, but really think about it. Because if you're trying to access your man through God, but you're just going to God to get a man, newsflash. In order for you to keep him, you're going to have to stay with God. So if you think God is just going to drop that husband off to you or whatever it is you're looking for, and then you should just, oh, thanks God, I got it from here, it won't last. You'll be going to divorce court no sooner than you go to get a marriage license, because we cannot do that to God. That's why it is so important to understand the attributes and the characteristics of a queen. You have to know what it looks like to glean. See, in gleaning, there's humility. You already glowing, so now you need to learn how to glean. If you already know how to work, like physically work, you've created a life for yourself, you've established yourself, that's incredibly awesome. But have you done the work on you? Have you unselfishly focused on who you have to be as a balanced woman of God? Not your money, not how you look, not what you have, not what you do, not where you go, not who your collective of friends are, none of that. What are you doing to genuinely focus on yourself? Like, ask this. Am I too mean to glean? I mentioned this loosely in the last yesterday actually, about narcissism, but today it's more in depth because that has to do with the gleaning. Listen, Ruth had to humble herself. Not only was she working for herself, but she was also working for her mother-in-law of her dead husband, and she was living in a place she didn't know. Like, she was humble. She literally was set free because they moved from the place. Her husband, rest his soul, was gone on to be with the Lord, and this woman could have just started a new life. And apparently, Ruth was an attractive woman. So it's not like she was some bump on the log and she couldn't get anybody, So you really have to think about that. This is not like some desperate woman. This is a woman who chose to humble herself. She literally had to be in the heat, bending down, pulling all of this stuff out of the ground because she was just a humble woman. So think about it. Are you successful, but you may have a rep for being kind of snooty or, like you think you're all that? Like, listen, that's not cute. And here's a news flash. Men don't like that. Men like confident women, not cocky women. There's a difference. Trust me, I know. They tell me all the time. A man loves a woman who can, miss independently. I love her because she got her own. But don't mess around and have your own and you making him feel like he can't get his own. Or you making him feel like what he has is not good enough. Or what he has is beneath you. Again, we want to be balanced women. We want to be the women that show that man that respect. We want to be that woman that is so respectful to that man, he can't help but shower us with love. And again, we're balanced. We are not so focused and have tunnel vision on a man and getting a Boaz. No, we welcome a Boaz because a lot of us are called to marriage. So this is about just having a peaceful, well-balanced, honest look at how you should take care of yourself as a woman, but also being wide open to the prospect of the Lord bringing you a wonderful man of God. I never say bring me my Boaz because Boaz is not for me. He already got a wife and her name is Ruth. So I particularly don't care to associate my dude with that. And again, if you go deeper, it's other things in there. So I'm like, nah, I don't want a man who, seems to maybe have other things going on. So again, that's just my personal opinion. But again, I love that story. I think it's amazing. And for what we're talking about today, I think it's dope. So I think it's just more about paying attention to the fact that if you do want to find your Boaz, then I think you have to find yourself first and you have to find God and then yourself. And then whoever that man is that's called to be in your life, the love of your life that is ordained by God, then you will see that come to pass for you. Also, understand this. And this is a huge breakthrough I had received in my own life. And many may not agree with me, but I do believe in bone of my bone, flesh of my flesh. I do believe that we are man's rib. I absolutely believe that with all my heart. But I also believe that God is the one. The Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit, that's the one. In completion, that is the one. So when I stopped looking for a man to be the one, looking to be my all in all, my everything, my entire life changed. Everything flowed different because you were more focused on God being the one. And what do we do when we think somebody's the one? We trying to impress them. We trying to do all these things. But what ends up happening is when you say God is the one, you try to impress him. And then when you're so busy impressing God, you're going to impress that man who is watching or who will see you one day and will come across your path. He is going to see that because you have been the woman that God has called you to do because you focused on the one, and that's God. You're not focused on a man. And then you know what? Then you being somebody's rib, he going to be like, yo, she belong with me. That's me. That's all me right there, bruh. Flaws and all. That's all me. So I want her. So I'm going to go to get her. She tucked in. She in her little queendom in the kingdom with her daddy. So I know that I literally have to go to God in prayer and pray and say, Father, may I have your daughter's hand. And when God gives you the confirmation, yeah, that's my wife, that man is going to come to you. And he's going to let you know. But you tucked in so deep in the arms of the Lord, that man literally has to go to God to find you. Okay? So that's what this whole being a queen thing is about. So I want you to ask yourself something. Do I need to alter, edit, augment, change, cancel, enhance, deny, ignore, replace, or fix anything or anyone in my life? Meaning fix a situation as if maybe somebody has to go. Fix a situation where you welcome someone in. Whatever the case may be. If the answer is yes to any of those questions, I want you to rejoice. I'm sure you didn't see that coming. But you should rejoice. Ladies, listen, your desiring someone is natural. Completely natural. I want you to rejoice because all it's doing is saying that you're continuously healing and you really want to be the woman that God has called you to be. You want to be a queen. You have no desire to be less than who God has called you to be as a child of the Most High God. You have no desire to come in second fiddle in your own story. You have no desire for that. So that's why you should rejoice. And just remember this. God made you an individual. and he will always love you. Just make sure that you start loving him before you expect him to send a man that will be loving you. That's how you be a queen, ladies. That's how you do it. You're a queen because you know whose you are. And that's how that works. So, as I mentioned earlier, for each day, we have level up questions. So right now, it's time to level up. Question of the day, are you too mean to glean? Right? So let's break it down. Here are the 3 questions I want you to ponder. Number 1, how is your humility level? 2, do you have unrealistic expectations of a Boaz? And in this situation, I have to say, quote unquote, do you have unrealistic expectations? Seek the Lord on that. And last question, are you a sweetheart or bitter or both? Be honest. And guess what? I suffice it to say, you don't need to be bitter at all. Straight up. You can always be a sweetheart, but you know what? Sometimes a little pep, a little spice, that's cool because it balances you out. But to be bitter, oh, no. Queens aren't bitter, honey. When queens are bitter, they get thrown out of the kingdom. We are sweet. We are kind. We are spiritual. We are seeking the Father because we want to operate in excellence. So no, these are not things that we partake in. Bitterness, we will never be bitter. Queens, nah. Queens ain't bitter. We rise above the bitterness. A queen will take bitterness and turn it into being a boss. That's what a queen would do. And if you're really trying to operate on the highest level of being a queen, you're going to supersede being a boss and you're going to be a leader. Because a leader will not only lead the crew, but the leader is also, the best leaders make the best followers make the best leaders. So if you are a queen and you begin to lead, then you'll create other women with the proper queen mindset, and she too will be a leader. And now you're just creating other leaders and you're setting the tone for godly, Christ-like leadership as a strong queen and woman of God. So keep that in mind. Those were your level up questions for the day. Again, guys, download the book. In the book, there's the next page where it's your goal sheet. I told you have a goal sheet every day. I also call them call to action sheets. And on these sheets, you have an opportunity to write. Basically, for day 2, you have 3 personal glean goals. So you need to figure out what 3 goals you want to set for yourself as you prepare to glean spiritually and in the natural. What do you have to work on? What do you need to cultivate as a gleaner in this season in your life? And then we always, I shut it down at the end with say something dope about yourself. Because if you're really taking this process seriously, you may be in tears. God may be leading you to make some changes, and it may not feel good. It's all fun and games until the Lord start ripping them Band-Aids off. So it's nice to do this series, but if you're really taking it seriously and you're really seeking the Father because you really, really want to take what's in this information and really change your life, really be prepared for what you know God has promised you in this season, then guess what? You're going to have to remind yourself, once you take out all of the ugly parts, hey, look, I got to say something dope about myself. I got to remind myself of who I am, because you don't want to lose that in this process. So again, you make sure you download, you get your copy, you print it out, and I want you to make sure that you log your journey. You're going to log your input, and it's going to add value to your journey. That's precisely why I added the call to action sheets. Now, as we close, we have gotten to my favorite part of each series, and that is the married moment. So again, the married moment is just some dope advice from a woman of God who is now married. Some married with children, some married still, no children. But they have rich, amazing advice. And the question that I posed to them was simply this: what advice would you give to a single woman who would like to be married? Okay, but you didn't know this stuff before you got married. You wish you would have known. Okay? So, today's advice comes from a very beautiful couple. They don't have any kids. And she's speaking from the perspective of how to communicate with your husband. Well, your future husband. We're going to go ahead and say husband and speak it, though. So this is what they say. They say, it's an adventure. You definitely become a new person. It's almost like your relationship becomes a new person. You should marry someone you love and that you like to be around because there's no escape. And she laughed profusely when she said that. She said, but it is fun. You will always have someone to relate to. Keep communication open and light. Don't let things go too far if they need to be addressed. Always pray for each other and your relationship. So that is the married moment for today. I absolutely love that advice. I really loved her transparency about it, about you really not having an escape, like you're really going to be stuck with that person. You could either say you're stuck or you're blessed. And I'm quite sure from what I've heard from many married women, some days you feel stuck and some days you feel blessed. And I think that that's a pretty balanced way of thinking about it, because I think it is reality. And I think it's a good thing because it causes you to stretch as a person and you're not in a bubble. You really learn how to love the person, past their pain, and what they bring to the table. So again, wonderful, wonderful married moment for today. And guys, don't forget, you can make sure you catch up on yesterday. Yesterday was day one, be a light. Today is being a queen. And tomorrow will be an example. So I want to make sure that you are here for that tomorrow. And if you like the series, please pass it on. I really appreciate it, guys. Again, join me again tomorrow for the Queen Me series. And remember, I'm wired to inspire. I hope you are too.
Thanks for listening to I'm Wired to Inspire podcast at I'mWiredToInspire.com. If you enjoyed the show, spread the word and be sure to hit the 5-star rating on iTunes. For more information on this podcast and inspirational products and services, log on to the inspirationspecialist.life or I'mWiredToInspire.com. And remember to live your authentic purpose. Thanks again, and see you next time.